in this area. This train was set to hit the tracks. But despite taking all the necessary precautions, disaster struck and the train was derailed. Thankfully, only cargo was on board, so no one was harmed. No, this is not Big Alice from Snowpiercer. It's simply a snowplow train in Canada, doing unbelievable work. Trust me, train spotting is just as much fun at a safer distance. On February 9, 2020, in Nesquehoning, Pennsylvania, a freight train operated by the Reading, Blue Mountain and Northern Railroad came to an unplanned stop. Thankfully not with a bang, but with a couple of miles of scattered metal, indented tracks. A few days before Halloween, black smoke covered the city of Dunkirk, New York in 2013. Unfortunately, it wasn't part of the Halloween festivities. Due to a malfunction, a fire had erupted in the engine of a Norfolk Southern train. Thanks to the quick action of the engineer and swift response from the local fire crew, no one was harmed. In the summer of 2023, a Lake State Railway train in Bay County, Michigan, suffered a derailment. Fortunately, no one got hurt. Whose bright idea was it to use wood to construct railroad trestles? $10 million up in flames. In this heart-stopping scene, a woman had absent-mindedly left an empty stroller on a station platform. As if her luck wasn't bad enough, a train happened to be passing by. The empty stroller rolled right into the tracks and got crushed to bits. This has gotta be one of the greatest near misses in near miss history. In this incredible scene, a train driver ran down all the train's aisles, telling passengers to brace for the impact of a crash. I'm not sure if it was fear or his quick thinking, but whatever it was, the passengers were able to protect themselves, and no injuries were recorded. Speaking of quick thinking, a Norfolk Southern train experienced a mechanical malfunction in 2008 that resulted in a locomotive fire. Fortunately, no lives were claimed, and the situation was kept under control. Looks like this RTD train forgot one of the most important rules of the rails: slow down of the curves. This train derailment occurred at the Aurora intersection back in 2022. Thankfully, nobody got seriously hurt. He had only a second to choose between his bike and his life. I think you made the right choice. This compassion and train driver halted the train completely, just to allow a baby elephant to go on its way. Not all heroes wear capes. Oh, yeah, a little snow on the tracks. This formidable train plowed through it like it was nothing. That was awesome. It's the choo-choo challenge. Clearly train drivers aren't against some friendly competition. Her obsessive need to film anything interesting around us just might be the end of the human race. Believe it or not, in the 1930s, it was popular to stage train wrecks for entertainment. And people would pay good money to see it. But today you're seeing it on YouTube free of charge. To connect a train car to another, an important part known as a drawbar is required. In this case, a malfunctioning drawbar on the train, cause the cars to separate. The automatic brakes were triggered and no casualties were recorded. Smells like fire, I don't know what's going on. A distributed power unit went up in flames on the tracks of Tehachapi. But in no time the firefighters sprung into action, got to the site and put out the fire. A high-voltage electrical malfunction almost caused a fire outbreak on this train. Thankfully, it didn't happen again, but this does make for a pretty good light show. Over $2 million worth of cars were destroyed when this 4 train carrying vehicles crashed into a low bridge in 2020. First COVID, then this. I see why 2020 was a bad year for car sellers. Oh, look at these cars. The maintenance department will have a huge mess to clean up after this. Luckily, there were no casualties. Back in the day, controlled train crash tests were held casually to assess some of the train's features, like emergency braking. This particular one happened in Russia. It's safe to say it failed the test. You know what train's well made when all of its parts were intact after a derailment. No crash, no casualties. No problems that just happened. I wonder why the truck was in such a rush. Gonna have a collision. It's gonna hit. Luckily, the only damage here is a crossing bar. Being that close to the site of a derailed train, carrying that many tank cars is bold. Especially when they're all carrying highly flammable ethanol. Thankfully, there were no explosions and everyone on board was safe. Dylan, let me get the fuck out of here. Uh-oh. Big trouble. This guy couldn't stop screaming. Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god, holy crap. Oh my. The knuckles of a moving train actually break more often than you think. After the break, the train automatically comes to a halt. Oh wow. The crew then locates his separation and replaces the broken knuckle. I know there's a lot of pollution going on here, but isn't this just such a sight? Being late to work or school won't matter. If you lose your life, stay off the tracks. Train tracks are not playgrounds. Seeking has its limits. The engineer was right to flip them off. The train was supposed to stop, but it didn't, and this truck got stuck under the crossing gate. One wrong move, and you're looking at over $100,000 in damage. Even professional safety rail workers are not free from the dangers on the tracks. Am I the only one that finds it weird that a 4-lane highway with a median doesn't have any crossing gates in sight? Please. Not entirely sure how this truck got into such an awkward position on the tracks. It caused some serious damage to the train, but not a full derailment. The truck driver and everyone on board the train were okay. Europe is so ahead of its time that a high-speed train journey can quickly turn into a boat cruise. Unfortunately, many rail companies don't repair tracks as quickly as they should, and this inevitably leads to train derailment. Oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, are they okay? It is a once-in-a-lifetime experience to be able to witness a race between modern and an older train. The gag here is the older train is taking the lead. Feels like they're just trying to make sure Tesla owners are making a difference. That is way too much smoke. Not all trains will pass as slowly as this one did. On the damaged rocks. This is a derailment waiting to happen. The CCTV camera on one train captures the aftermath of another train's derailment. Now that's a lot of paperwork. Due to a train signal malfunction, this truck driver had no idea the train was coming. Thanks to his sharp reflexes, he avoided a deadly collision. In Nebraska, a train carrying multiple containers suffered a terrible derailment. Thankfully, no containers had crashed into the road, and no injuries were recorded. I know technology is evolved greatly, but this is another level. This is one of the most interesting car dynamics I've ever seen. So in New Zealand, trains and cars can travel on the same lanes, as opposed to using crossing gates to prevent situations like these. The Iowa State Fair decided to showcase a staged train crash as the day's headliner sometime in the 1930s. One train represented then-President Hoover, and the other Franklin Roosevelt, who was running against Hoover in the 1932 presidential election. Even though the collision wasn't real, it gives you a good idea about how those two felt about each other.